a small number of large properties are what's contributing to significant stormwater to the combined sewer system. Replacing that system, which dates back to the late 1800s, is an extremely expensive idea and pretty unlikely. But we do know that what is likely is that we're going to see more rain coming again. And that rain could be backing up more drains and draining more bank accounts. Jack's Big Bite, that's where we focus on one particular story happening in the community, a community we believe in with our partners at First State Bank. Stop into one of their local branches or visit online at fsb4me.com to access all the helpful tools and services at First State Bank, built on belief and committed to doing right by our communities. For today's Big Bite, presented by First State Bank, we are taking a look at another thing that is bringing change to this region and the cost of it. Severe weather, specifically after the recent flooding from heavy rain that we've seen locally. Let me take you back just 12 days. You got that wipe? So we certainly saw a lot of this footage going back the last couple weeks. Amy Ketchum on TikTok with that compilation of multiple flood videos, specifically taken Friday, July 17th, when really heavy rain just dumped on this area late in the afternoon. That rain was particularly felt on the east side of the city of Cincinnati. All the places that the National Weather Service confirmed had flash flooding has been mapped out now by weather experts and surveyors in the days since that rain. There's a map of areas that specifically by the National Weather Service had significant flooding amounts. Rainfall amounts that day were 4 to 5 inches, anecdotally more than that. And that much rain all came down in just a couple of hours. That's usually how much rain that we see over the entire month of July, 4 to 5 inches. And it hit during the afternoon rush on a Friday. So traffic on much of Cincinnati's east side was slowed to a crawl. You were probably affected by it one way or another, whether you were driving on a flooded regular surface street or on the highway right there. You see I-71 with that big puddle. The flooding was pretty widespread, and so was the variety of damage and responses that were needed to that weather. Cincinnati Fire says one person died by electrocution in Fairfax in that Friday flooding. 3 other people suffered other injuries, all related to the water. CFD received about 200 emergency calls for help, and over 3 dozen civilian rescues were performed in that storm. And then there was the damage to property. Lots of overland flooding, as you can imagine. That would be water collecting around sloped yards or water coming in from a recessed driveway. But we also got an update on that just yesterday from the Metropolitan Sewer District. Director telling county commissioners about calls for sewer flooding. That would be water coming up, not just coming in. Now, I would say take a look at this, but it's really more of a take a listen situation.
We've been working around the clock really since the 17th. We had about 1,860 claims as of yesterday. I'm sorry, not claims, calls to our system. So these are reports of a sewer backup. We have completed nearly all of them. I think we were down to under 50 yesterday. And we had authorized, of those 1,860, we had authorized 940 for cleaning. So, a little, about 50%. And the properties that are not authorized, this gets back to what are we seeing and why are we saying they're not eligible for the sewer backup program. Typically, what we're seeing is that their property was solely impacted by overland flooding, water's getting into their home. We have a lot of properties in our area that, have recessed drives. They're on it, they're sitting in an area where the entire area was flooded. If we did see any signs of surcharge along with that overland flooding, even if most of the damage or most of the impact was from the flooding, they would qualify. So we had to, really have information that indicated that the sewers weren't surcharged if you were not approved for cleaning. So we have been, letting customers know that, and they can call if they have not heard if they were eligible for cleaning. But if they have not heard from us, then they, likely were not approved for our program, and then they will not be eligible to file a claim either.
So it might have been a little bit tough to see that on the screen, but MSD has taken over 1,800 calls for sewer backups, and about half of those so far have been authorized for actual sewer overflow cleaning. The sewer backup program budget for this year is just over $8 million. About $3.5 million was spent up until those most recent storms. I want to zoom out on that kind of storm disaster just a little bit. We've got other data from the National Weather Service. From 1980 until 2024, the state of Ohio saw just over 100 weather disasters that cost $1 billion each. Severe storms with the vast majority of those events in Ohio, though that's really more about wind damage to property than just pure flooding from rainfall. It's a similar situation I looked up for Kentucky's history going back to the 80s as well. 92 total billion-dollar disasters for the bluegrass. And again, most of that from severe storms. If we zoom out even further to nationwide data, just over 400 disasters that have cost $1 billion each in the U.S. going back to the year 1980. Total cost $2.9 trillion. In 2024, the U.S. saw 27 confirmed weather disasters, losses exceeding $1 billion each. One of them was a drought, one of them was a flood, one of them was a wildfire. There were 2 winter storms that year, 5 tropical cyclones, and 17 severe storms. It is worth noting that that info from the National Weather Service only goes until 2024. That's the most recent report we can get. There is a banner at the top of that website saying that because of evolving priorities, mandates, and staffing, it has stopped updating that database in early 2025. $17 billion severe storms, and I want to be clear how I'm saying that. There are $17 billion severe storms are notable as a new report that came out in just the last few days. This is from firststreet.org, conducting their 19th risk assessment, saying that severe storms just last year caused more insurance payouts than hurricanes or other extreme weather. Severe storms are now, as of last year, the most costly insured natural disaster in the world. In 2025, severe storms accounted for 1/3 of global natural disaster economic losses, according to First Street. Insured and uninsured losses from them totaled $82 billion. That's worldwide, $68 billion of that in just the U.S. alone. Back here locally, MSD Director Diana Christie told Hamilton County Commissioners at that meeting yesterday that she expects her department is going to need more money to respond to all the sewer backup reports from these most recent storms. That $8 million budget isn't going to be enough for this year. Now, reporting in the Inquirer about this topic just a couple of days ago points to a presentation that MSD made to commissioners back in April of this year. That's the front page of that report right there, with some guidance on how to deal with flooding that we're seeing from heavy rain events, saying that to focus on large impervious area properties like concrete parking lots is one of the main goals. Also to focus on where the impact is greatest, as a small number of large properties are what's contributing to significant stormwater to the combined sewer system. Replacing that system, which dates back to the late 1800s, is an extremely expensive idea and pretty unlikely. But we do know that what is likely is that we're going to see more rain coming again. And that rain could be backing up more drains and draining more bank accounts. Things to plan for, things to be ready for. That's your Big Bite for now.